American warships were moving through one of the most dangerous waterways on Earth right now. Missiles came flying at them, drones buzzed overhead, and small boats raced towards them in the dark. The US Navy shot everything down. Then America hit back hard. On Thursday, May 7th, the United States military launched strikes deep inside Iran. Missile sites, drone launch pads, command centers, and intelligence bases all gone. And now Iran has fired back. What exactly happened? Where were the strikes? And could this spiral into something much bigger? Stay with me because this story moves fast. Let us quickly go back to where this started, the Strait of Hormuz. Picture a narrow strip of water that sits between the Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. About 20% of the world's oil passes through it every single day. So this is not just any ocean lane, this is one of the most important waterways on the planet. On May 7th, 3 US Navy-guided missile destroyers were making a routine transit through those waters. The ships were the USS Truxtun, the USS Rafael Peralta, and the USS Mason. Big, powerful warships armed to the teeth. But Iran wasn't backing down. Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, then drones, then small fast-moving boats came speeding towards the American ships. US forces intercepted every single one. President Trump described it himself, calling the drone attack almost poetic in a way only Trump could. He said the drones came and were incinerated while in the air and dropped like a butterfly going to its grave. That's a quote from the actual president of the United States. After blocking all the attacks, the US didn't just sail away quietly. US Central Command, that's the military branch responsible for the Middle East, responded with what they call self-defense strikes. So what exactly did the United States target? According to CENTCOM, the official US military command, American forces destroyed several types of facilities deep inside Iranian territory. First, missile and drone launch sites. These are the actual places where Iran fires its weapons. Second, command and control locations. Think of this as the brains of the operation, where Iranian military leaders give orders. Third, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. In plain language, spy stations, places where Iran watches, listens, and tracks enemy movements. The strikes hit multiple locations. A US official confirmed 2 of them, Bandar Abbas and Qeshm Island. Bandar Abbas is a major Iranian port city. Qeshm is an island just off Iran's southern coast. Meanwhile, Iran told a different story. An Iranian armed force spokesman claimed US airstrikes also hit civilian areas along the coast of Qeshm Island, Bandar Karim, and Sirik. Iran also accused the US of targeting an Iranian oil tanker that was heading towards the Strait of Hormuz, claiming that violated an ongoing ceasefire agreement. That's a big accusation, and it didn't go unanswered. Because Iran did not stay quiet, shortly after the US strikes, Iran launched what they called Reciprocal action. Iranian forces attacked US military vessels east of the Strait of Hormuz, south of the port of Chaba, and an Iranian state media report confirmed fighting at the Bahman Pier on Qeshm Island, describing an exchange of fire between Iranian security forces and, quote, the enemy. So let's be very clear about what we are watching here. 2 of the world's most powerful militaries are trading blows in real time in one of the world's most critical waterways. And yet officially, there is a ceasefire in place. That's not a typo, there is a ceasefire technically, but according to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, Iran has attacked US forces more than 10 times since the ceasefire began. 10 times, and so far, none of those attacks crossed what the military calls the threshold for returning to full combat operations. But thus these strikes clearly pushed that line further than it has been pushed before. Now, let's talk about the man at the center of all this, President Donald Trump. After the strikes, Trump took to Truth Social, his personal social media platform, and sent direct warning to Iran. He wrote, and quote, "We'll knock them out a lot harder and a lot more violently in the future if they don't get their deal signed and fast." All caps, exclamation point, classic Trump energy. But here's the interesting part. In the same breath, in a phone call with ABC News, Trump called Thursday's strike a love tap. A love tap, not a full strike, not an act of war. He also confirmed the ceasefire is ongoing. It is in effect. So on one hand, Trump is threatening much more violent action. On the other hand, he's downplaying what's already happened. That contradiction tells us something important. The US wants to keep this below the level of full war for now, while warning Iran not to test that boundary. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth backed that up, stressing that US forces are currently in a defensive posture but fully prepared to respond. Nonetheless, here's a detail that most people are overlooking, and it adds a whole new layer to this story. Just one day before the destroyer attacks on Wednesday, the US military disabled an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman. The ship was called the Empty Hasna. It was sailing in international waters heading towards an Iranian port. US forces issued multiple warnings telling the tanker it was violating an ongoing US blockade. When the ship didn't comply, a US fighter jet fired several rounds of ammunition directly into the ship's rudder. That's the part that steers the ship. Without it, the tanker couldn't move under its own power. Iran called this a ceasefire violation. The US called it enforcement of a lawful blockade. Two completely different interpretations of the same event. And that gap in understanding is exactly what is fueling this escalation. So, why should you, sitting at home and watching this, care about all of this? Because the Strait of Hormuz is not just an Iran-American problem. It is the world's problem. 20% of the global oil supply flows through that strip of water. If that route gets blocked, or if this conflict explodes into something larger, oil prices could spike everywhere. Supply chains get disrupted, economies feel the pressure. Furthermore, the US and Iran have been building towards this moment for years, through sanctions, nuclear talks, proxy wars, and now direct military exchanges. The big question everyone is asking right now is this: is a full-scale war coming? As of today, both sides say they don't want escalation, but both sides are still firing. That is a contradiction the whole world is watching very carefully. Here is where things stand right now. The US says it was defending its ships. Iran says the US violated a ceasefire. Trump says it was a love tap, but promises worse if Iran doesn't sign a deal. Meanwhile, missiles, drones, and warships are still in play. The ceasefire is technically alive, but barely breathing. We will keep tracking this story as it develops. If you want to stay ahead of every major global story, subscribe right now to The Voice for All. Hit the bell because the next update could come at any moment.